All right, we are continuing our spirited discussion about last night's debate. Who won and lost? More importantly, was anything changed? Were you swayed out there if you're undecided? Taking your calls on this at 1-877-TEL-HLN. We have our expert panel standing by. We'll get them reintroduced as we go. Let's do it right now. Upper left, Stephanie Miller, Liberal Radio talk show host. Her opposition with the hat on. There he is, Reese Hopkins, McCain supporter. Bottom left, John Avlon, independent. T.J. Walker, performance coach. And T.J., let's start with you. I want to watch some video here. You kind of talked about it a little bit ago concerning those cutaway shots. And we saw John McCain roll the eyes a little bit. Leslie, if we have that tape, let's take a look at that. And TJ, just your take on it. As we see John McCain, he was the one looking at, whoa, the eyes roll there, as he doesn't like what Barack Obama says. Do voters see that, and are they turned off at all by some of those shots?
They do see it in part because it's being talked about all day long today on CNN and headline news. That's a part of it. He also blundered in the first 30 seconds of the debate. The first thing you see is his head down and scrawling notes. Like, what, he has to write down Barack Obama's name? It seemed very distracting. It didn't make him look comfortable or confident. The final mistake he made, when the debate was over but the cameras were still rolling, he did the following, not once but twice. And now he's playful, but he's doing that. He's sticking his tongue out. Now, he's playful. Yes, that's nice that he's playful. It's nice that he's not
Did McCain do anything
too
right,
seriously.
But
now, to McCain's credit, this was a much better forum for him than walking around on a stage. This is back to the Meet the Press forum. McCain actually did pretty well. I think the analogy is not Muhammad Ali, but it's more like a golfer who golfs 2 under par for the day, but he's up against Tiger Woods, who was 5 under.
Okay.
But McCain did a solid performance, minor mistakes, but when you're up against someone like Barack Obama, who was nearly flawless, those minor mistakes are magnified.
Yeah, he's just unflappable. Like him or not, vote for him or not, he is unflappable. And it's tough to compete when you're talking the performance arena. I want to talk about something most agree. Maybe not Stephanie, but John McCain had a pretty good start. And speaking to Joe the plumber, we were hearing a lot about Joe the plumber, mentioned many times. I want to listen to John McCain talking about the whole spreading of wealth and the taxes and how he tries to relate that to Joe the plumber. Let's give it a listen.
Why would you want to increase anybody's taxes right now? Why would you want to do that? Anyone in America. When we have such a tough time, when these small business people like Joe the plumber are going to create jobs unless you take that money from him and spread the wealth around.
Number one, I want to cut taxes for 95% of Americans. Now, it is true that my friend and supporter Warren Buffett, for example, could afford to pay a little more in taxes.
We're talking about Joe the plumber.
in order to give additional tax cuts to Joe the plumber before he was at the point where he could make $250,000.
Stephanie, who won the Joe the plumber vote? I know what you're going to say, but don't you think McCain had a pretty good start and was pretty effective early on?
No. I think he looked like he was auditioning for grumpy old men for most of the night. He looked furious. His jaw was locked in fury most of the time. He was making a weird breathing, grunting sound. And, you know, the fact that the news has come out today that Joe the plumber is pretty much a Republican plant, I think has kind of ameliorated that story. Barack Obama's plan has been looked at by, as you know, bipartisan group, and he is absolutely right. 95% of Americans will get a tax cut under Barack Obama. 4 out of every 5 households will get a tax cut.
Right.
I mean, he made a very good point. They both want to cut taxes. John McCain wants to cut taxes only for the top 1% and the oil companies.
Reese, go ahead.
Here, let me just say this to you folks. 95% of Americans do not pay taxes, okay? Let me explain that to you, okay? There is a small percent, 5%, that pay 50% of taxes, okay? And then there's 38% of the country that don't pay taxes. So we can't give 95% of the Americans tax cuts. He's saying it wrong, and if I may, Stephanie, you're still quoting it wrong. 95% of Americans? No. That's not how it works. There are only 40% of Americans who pay tax who are in the minimum wage. Those are the people he's talking about.
Well, TJ, we got to go. Reese, we got to run. I'm sorry, you guys. We go a whole hour, let's face it. Stephanie, Reese, John, TJ, we appreciate it. You, the viewer, love the calls as well. And remember, for the latest political news at any time, check out the political ticker at CNN.com.